All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Von Dubcast, another solo episode for you guys. As most of you will know, if you're listening, that the day this releases, October 1st, is my first day of this new venture. It's supposed to be the first day that I'm off of work and going after the podcast full time. And I'm really excited about it. I'm really nervous. And I'm actually recording this on Wednesday, so it'll be a couple days before that. But just wanted to document for myself and hopefully let you guys in on the journey like I always do. Just what I'm going through in this moment so that I can look back on it and remember and hopefully see how far I've come from this moment, and hopefully I can put some things down on not on paper but on the record, just to kind of help with that and to help create a milestone and hopefully just maybe bring a little bit more to light of what I've been going through to you guys that care and that have been following along and want to see where this journey goes. So a lot of you have probably known that I've been pretty upfront about my unhappiness with work and just my unhappiness just in general, my mental health, the depression that I was dealing with, and how directly I felt that correlated with some things in my life, and mainly just work, and not just work, but also the lack of being able to chase my passions. And that's this podcast and these other ventures that I've referred to, and these other ones that I'm pretty sure I'll talk about at some point, the business consulting and streaming avenues of where I want to take this. And I don't even know how to start this. So I knew that I needed to make a change in this summer. I just decided I can't do this anymore. I am so miserable at work. I really, really despise what I'm doing. And I know that sounds strong, and I hate saying it because there's so many people at work that I love and I care about so much, and they care about me, and I know that. And I don't want anybody to think that that's what it is. But just fundamentally, what that job requires me to do is so against what I want to do that really eats at me. And then the trap feeling of knowing that there's nothing I can do. I can't just leave. It's not a company that I'm not tied to, it's my dad's company, and I care about it, and he cares about it. And I can't just do what I think anybody else in my situation, if I'm honest, would have, is just tell him to go fuck himself, figure this shit out. Like, this isn't my problem. This isn't my company. I don't know why I'm losing all of my mental health towards trying to fix this when, it's not what I truly want to do. It's not what I care about. And not only that, but it's actively preventing me from. So I knew I needed to make a change, and I was at a very dark point. And, we had the wedding coming up. So I made sure that I waited till after the wedding to have this conversation. But then I sat down with my parents, and I just was very clear to them about what I needed and what I was going through. And that was a huge weight off my shoulders. I was having severe anxiety attacks building up to that. Almost every day, it just felt like I couldn't breathe, like my chest was closing up. It was a very awful feeling to be going through, and you add that to the depression, and it just wasn't a very good place. And I hadn't been in a very good place for a long time before that. The podcast kind of was a nice band-aid to put on it, because it was something that I loved and something that got my creative juices flowing and really forced me in a bunch of areas. And not only that, but it refocused me at work, because I have so much guilt about the role that I do, and the fact that it's my dad's company, and probably everybody that looks at me just thinks, oh, you just got handed this because of who your dad is, right? So I always carried a lot of guilt, and now I'm off chasing this other venture while also having this role, and already had people looking at me, and I'm sure people are just not saying anything, and it's all in my head. But I cared a lot of that. But what it did was, because I was trying out this new thing, this podcast dream, and chasing that, I doubled down at work. I started making sure that I was always going to be there, always working extra hard, so that nobody could really call me on anything. And that just so happened that at the time I decided to make this change, some really key things happened at work that required somebody to step up and really take action and start to put a plan together to I don't know, I can't say too much, but just a lot was asked of me at that point, and it was perfect because I really had more to give at that point. I was really diving in. I was diving into the pockets, but I also dove into work, and I gave it everything, and I gave too much. And that was tough because I was getting the podcast off the ground and all that, and it was great, and I was really happy with it, but it wasn't everything I wanted it to be, and I knew that, and I knew that was fine, but I was also giving everything I could to work, and we were doing some amazing things, and I'm really proud of what we did and how far we've come, and it's amazing to look back now, and I think this is something that I get told to remind myself a lot, is to look back, because I'm so focused on the future. Oftentimes I don't, and we did come a long way in it, but also it was not very fun for me personally. I gave all of myself and it didn't feel very good. It wasn't very fun. A lot of it got thrown back in your face. And this is typical business, right? It's sometimes hard choices need to be made and you're the bad guy. And even though this is exactly what needs to be done to make sure that everyone has a job and that there's food to be able to put on the table, people aren't going to like the change. And if you're the one enacting it and you're the force behind the change, even if it's completely necessary, and if we didn't change, there wouldn't be work for anybody and just it would cease to exist. People don't see it that way. And you just get dragged through the mud and you get looked at. And then it just wasn't a very fun experience. And it really jaded me to all the effort that I put in. It was like, why am I putting all this effort in to this thing that I shouldn't say I don't care about, because I do care and I care a lot, but I'm putting this thing in, putting all this work into something I care about less than this thing I have in front of me with the podcast that I care immensely about. And I'm not putting everything into this podcast that I need to, and I'm not being fulfilled in that way. Right. So having that moment of, I don't know what to call it, but just that line in the sand moment of, hey, come October 1st, I am done. I'm 100% done. I cannot do this. This is not negotiable. This is not anything. This is what I need. And my happiness and my mental health comes first, and this is what I need. And that was an amazing weight to take off my shoulders. And then from that moment on, I didn't have another panic attack until this week. Over that, because I knew that, okay, at least there's a time that there's some light at the end of the tunnel. This trapped feeling that I have of there's no way I can ever get out of this. I can't just tell these guys to fuck off. I'm in too deep. This is a family company. There's no way out. That feeling kind of lifted, and that was the feeling that was holding me down. And then, but another piece to all that, and I'll get back to what I'm talking about with that this week and coming up today, I guess, with this release of this first day, October 1st, and how that all has rolled out since that conversation and what things have been put in place. But having that conversation was a huge weight off my shoulders. Like I said already 4 times on this podcast, I'm just repeating myself, but it allowed me to look at some other things too, and to really have some conversations with myself that I was really putting off because there was not any room to think about it. I was so under a wall of stress and anxiety over this work thing that I really couldn't think what else I needed in life, and allowed some other conversations to come up that were really tough. And there were conversations that I think I was having in my mind for months before this, but that was I just kept, either consciously or subconsciously telling myself, well, yes, we really need to figure this stuff out, but you can't, this work thing is the first thing. Until you figure that out, what's the point of even trying to tackle these? So the moment I had that conversation and felt that lift, I was able to be honest with myself about some other things I was happy about. And one of those things was my relationship. And this is complex. And I know I kept hinting at it, that I was going through some stuff in the last couple episodes that I just didn't want to tell you guys about just yet, or had reasons not to tell you guys about them. And that is just that I also went through a breakup, and that was my choice. And it's very different. And the idea of whether to talk about it on here or not was a tough one. But I want to be honest with you guys. And I feel like this breakup is so different than anything I've ever gone through, or I've even seen anybody go through, that it's been really tough, because I feel like people just are so misunderstanding of what it is and why it is and all the reasoning behind it, that in their attempts to support it, it just goes the wrong way, because they don't understand what a weird coincidence this is. Like, right? Like, me and Alyssa may be separated, but we still love each other a lot, and we still care about each other a lot. And that is, I think that's hard for people to understand. And just what we had, I just, I don't even, to try and to explain to people that I broke up with someone, even though I was extremely, extremely happy in almost every way, but there was just certain things that didn't match, and certain things that I thought, there's no way. This is the thing. I want people to understand the whole reason I'm doing this is trying to give people an idea so that they can understand, so that they can, so that I can be supported in the way I need to be supported. But it's just so hard to explain, like, all the little intimate details that go into a decision like that, and that it was not a quick choice, wasn't an easy choice, wasn't something that I didn't lose a lot of sleep over. And I don't know. I just feel like I'm doing such a poor job of explaining it. I feel like it's insulting to Alyssa, and I feel like, I don't know. I'm sure now that I've at least got it out, I think I just needed to say those words and have it out on the podcast, and then I'll be able to think through the ways to explain what it is. And I guess, one sec, I'm going to ditch this hoodie, which I've had some people tell me about, that it's very fun to watch me try and lose the hoodie while keeping on talking on the mic and keeping my headphones back on. But today I'm just going to take a break, take my hoodie off, and replace my headphones. One sec. Much better. All right. Well, and this is the tough part, is because I'm very open about all this stuff and so willing to talk about all this stuff, but this is not a one-way street. This is not just about me. This is about two people that are both going through something very hard right now. And I have to be respectful of that, but also be selfish in that I need to do what I need to do to talk about it. And this is my catharsis. This is my therapy to talk about these things. So it's about finding that balance. And, so once I had made the decision that this is something that I wanted to try, there's a couple things that went through my mind. Was I knew that I wanted to do a few things, because I knew that this was not going to be an easy decision for me, and that this was going to be very hard and very sad. But what I knew more than that was that this was going to be so much harder, so much worse for Alyssa, that I didn't even allow myself to feel a lot of the feelings, because I didn't feel like I deserved it. Because how can you feel bad for something that you're actively choosing to do? And this was new, because to be honest with you guys, I'd never been on the other side of a breakup. I've only ever been broken up with. I've been a terrible person in the hopes to get somebody to break up with me, which I still do not, I'm not proud of. And that was, when you're coming out of high school and you're just in university, you don't know what to do. And, I have a compassion for myself in that time, but it was weird to be on this side of it, because now how do you feel? I've always felt that heartbreak, and I knew the pain I was going to cause, and I hate hurting people more than anything. And to hurt the person that you love is so, so painful. And to know and to build it up in my head of all these different ways and all the different things that could be said. And I was just agonizing this over months, and I was really not wanting to do it. So then when we finally had that conversation, I knew that there was a couple things that I wanted to make sure that I gave, that I could do. And one of those things was to not tell people right away, and to hold space so that me and Alyssa could have these conversations and do whatever we needed to do with just between us before anybody else in the world really knew what was going on. And I told her, you tell whoever you want to tell, but I'm going to wait until you're comfortable, because somebody once upon a time did that for me in a breakup, and it was really important to me, and it really helped. And I'm still very thankful, and I wanted to make sure I passed that on. The other thing I wanted to do is I made sure that I wanted to make sure I answered every question I could, and I didn't leave any stones unturned in terms of why. And like I said, I'd been tossing that decision over and over in my head for months and months at that time. So I had a very clear idea of why. It's very complex, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think the only person in the world that could really understand it is Alyssa. And even still, I don't understand. That's what I was trying to explain to Alyssa, is I don't even understand all of this. I believe it, and I'm trusting my gut that this is the right decision. And I could be wrong. And I might very well be wrong, because I've never had, all rationality points to me being wrong, because I've never had a relationship like this before, where we communicate and there's so much love, and there's no denying that it is not unrequited love, unconditional. It is so unconditional both ways, and and to throw that away, and to know that, or not to throw it away, that's not the right word, but to shoot for something different or to try and see if there is anything more. Like, to me, within the knowledge of the experience I have so far, there is nothing more, right? And that's a leap of faith to see if there is anything, or not even more, just different. Like, again, this doesn't make sense. I'm sure this is going to make zero sense to people. And I knew that going into this, that this would be hard to explain because it doesn't make sense. But I just wanted to make sure that I had reasons, even if they weren't very nice reasons, and even if they, hurt feelings, I wanted to at least be there. So what we did was we had been living together for the past, 3 or 4 weeks since that first conversation of this is the way it wants to go. And over that, people kept out, oh, did you sleep in different rooms? Did someone get a hotel? And that's what everyone was trying to recommend to us. But to us, it wasn't. It was us knowing that we had limited time left and that we still have a lot of love for each other. And we tried to enjoy it, and it was tough because it was sad, and we knew what was coming. But we tried to make the most of it. And we tried to, between the tears and everything, but just trying to have conversations of why, and trying to make sure we left on good terms and that nothing was left unsaid. On the good stuff and the bad stuff. And I just wanted to make sure that she knew that it was not anything to do with not being attracted to her. It was not anything to do with me not loving her. It was nothing to do with her in general, right? It was 99.99999% me and such a little part her. And I tried to be very open and transparent about the things that were on her side and the things that, I didn't want to sugarcoat or change anything, because it's always, I think it's such a bullshit answer. Just, no, it's not you, it's me. It's never one or the other. It's always somewhere in between. And in this case, it is a lot more me, but I tried to be open with those things, but just to make sure that she knew that it was not, and that she knows this. And just that she knows that this is something I'm doing, and that, and from my side is I know I'm jumping off into this thing where for a lot of years, for the last 4 years, I've had this job that is extremely secure and brings a lot of things, and that I could support us both. And that was always something that was a big part of my identity of, who I am as a supporter and what I think of myself as a man. And whether I'm in a relationship, I want to be able to support and to buy you anything you want. And to know that I was about to jump into this journey where I'm going to have no income, a lot of debt, no promises, no guarantees. I have a real trouble with pulling someone into that void with me. And the toughest part is that she was so willing, and I know she would have made that jump with me, and she told me that, and I knew that, and that was never in question. I knew she would make that jump, and she was such a big supporter of sorry guys. She was such a big supporter of the podcast and everything that I did. All the way. She never questioned. She always supported. She always believed in me. Oftentimes, probably more than I believed in myself. And I think that's important to have those people in your life that believe in you in those moments to that degree that they see in those moments what you're capable of and hold you to that esteem. And I tried to do that for her too. And that was some really great conversations we had these last couple of weeks of just, saying thankful to each other for the changes that we both see in ourselves that were a lot due to the other person. And that's something that I really wanted to say today is okay. Something I really wanted to say today was just that this, for those of you guys that have known me for many years, let's say 4 years plus, they'll notice a big change in me these last 4 years and who I am. And a lot of that I attribute to just getting older. A lot of that I attribute to this role that I was thrust into at 23 years old, which forced me to grow up fast. But I think more than any of that, I think finding weed and marijuana and what that changed me, I think that can't be understated as well. I think that's a huge part of my growth. And I know some people are really going to struggle with that and misunderstand what that means. But I'm sure I'll talk about that later. This is just not the time. But above all those things, the biggest change that I think I have was learning to love myself. And I was really along that path of doing that before I went on that trip to Europe where I met Alyssa. before I moved up to GP, I was really working on that of loving myself, and it was a really tough journey, and it wasn't, a couple months, it was years. And I attribute my movement along the path of starting to love myself so much to the fact that I had Alyssa in my back corner, or right behind me, loving me so unconditionally, and just loving that purest version of myself that I had to start loving for myself, and just to show me how to do that was really the catalyst for so much of what I've done these last couple of years. And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful to have that, and to have had that. And I'll always be in debt to that. And Alyssa said some really nice things about what I've done for her, and similar ways that I've helped her. And I just think that it's an amazing way. Part of the reason I really want to talk about this breakup is, like I already said, to try and explain to you guys so that I can get a little bit of the support I need in the way I need. And just kind of, if I can explain to you why this breakup's a little bit different, and, it's not, I really don't need somebody to come and commiserate and, well, fuck that bitch, like that's everyone's natural reaction when they hear a breakup, right? I think a lot of times guys too, it's just like, no, that's not it. It's, I love this person. I love this person more than any other person in the world. And this is just sometimes there's other factors that come into play, and you have to at least explore them. That doesn't mean that, maybe we do end up together, and who knows what the future can bring. You just have to leave it open to that, but it's tough. But these last 3 weeks, the other reason I want to talk about this is because no matter how painful, and don't get me wrong, this breakup has been one of, if not the toughest things I've ever been through in my life, but I'm also very proud of it. And I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud of Alyssa, and the way we went through this breakup. I think it's so easy just to either let it devolve into anger, or to start painting a story of, oh, she wasn't that great anymore, he wasn't that great anyway, and to devolve into that, or to not ask the questions that need to be asked, or to push too far to try and make yourself feel better. There was never any of that. And I think that made it even sadder. I think a lot of those times, those natural human tendencies to do stuff like that is to insulate yourself away from the pain. But the way we went about it, it really was about feeling it all, and trying to be there for each other. Like I said, I was so worried the whole time about Alyssa and the pain that I was causing, just the guilt that I felt over doing that I was really holding myself back from feeling a lot of the feelings, because I was so concerned about her and making sure that I was there for her. And this is what's going to sound so weird to you guys, like from the first conversation till the night she moved out, like if she was sad, I'd go over there and cuddle her and give her a hug and a kiss on the head and try and make her feel better. And I was there for her. And then in the times I tried to be very strong throughout it, and deal with it on my own time, so I didn't put anything more onto her than I already was, because I still feel it's just so unfair and selfish. And at the end of the day, it all comes back to being selfish. The work, change, chasing this podcast, all of this stuff is just selfish. And I know that, and I'm trying not to feel guilt about the selfishness of it, because I think you need to be selfish sometimes. And I feel like, especially right now with the journey I'm on and where I need to go, this is all about being selfish. And this is a selfish endeavor just at its base of what this is, of, thinking that you have something to say that is worth something to people, and people are going to want to listen to you. That is so egotistical and so selfish just on its head that, this shouldn't be surprising to me that I'm making the decisions that I am. But it's been tough. And we did an amazing podcast, just the two of us, because that was always something that we really wanted to do. I always really wanted to have Alyssa on the podcast, and for a lot of reasons, because I feel like oftentimes I see things in others that they don't see in themselves, and I feel like sometimes people can't even articulate the things that make them truly special, and it takes those around them to articulate for you. And I was so excited to get Alyssa on the podcast, because she was such an amazing person to me in so many ways, and I really wanted to share that with you guys, and not to share it all for myself. And nothing has changed with this. I still feel this, and I still feel that anybody that gets to meet Alyssa in their life is a lucky person, because she's a very special individual. But I was really excited to have her on the podcast one day, and that was a sad thing of us realizing that, maybe that wouldn't happen. So we just decided to do one together last week, and not release it, just keep it for ourselves, and just kind of have a a mic in front of us just to say what we want to say and to document what we want to document, the parts that we want to remember. And it was very beautiful. Who knows, maybe one day in the future when there's a little bit more time passed, maybe we'll release that and let you guys in on some of the feelings we're feeling. But yeah. Yeah, and then to add that, so then going through all this stuff, that's the other side of the coin of that, trying to not tell anybody, to create a safe, insulated space for the feelings to be felt. That was also tough to also be going through all this stress of these work changes and what we're building up to with the podcast to chase it full time, to also be going through this type of heartache. And I guess another piece of this too that I haven't mentioned yet is just that dog that we got, with Soka, and to be able to know that we're going through all this, and we have to figure something out for this poor little dog that loves us both so much. Like, and it's so apparent that this dog just is attached to us to a degree that I've rarely ever seen in dogs. It's just, complete and utter chaos if not both me and Alyssa are there, and to know that we're going to have to try and split this dog and keep the dog happy. It's just been so heartbreaking. And again, very proud of how we're going through it and how we're dealing with it. And it's just very, I think sometimes a breakup speaks to the power of what a relationship was. And I think it just highlights what an amazing relationship we had, and how the communication was on a level I'd just never seen before. And so many of the bullshit that pissed me off in prior relationships, of the fights, me and Alyssa never fought. Like, in traditional way of thinking of fun, no, we communicated, and sometimes the communication would get heat, but it was always done with respect and compassion. It just, I didn't think you could ever find that with someone. I thought that was just part of relationships, that you kind of had to fight. I mean, you have modeled what's modeled for you, right? And it's a lot of love, but just, I don't know. It was special. And I think that just speaks to the way we went about this breakup, speaks to the power of what we had for these last 4 years. Yeah, I don't know. That's it in a nutshell. I'm sure I'll talk about it more. I just kind of wanted to get my initial thoughts out to you guys, and just to know, yes, I'm in a vulnerable place. Yes, I need some, need a little bit of love, and I have been getting it. But more than that, my number one priority is that she comes out of this okay, and I know she will. She's so strong and so capable and amazing in so many ways, right? Like, I worry like a parent almost. Like, I know I don't need to be worried, but I'm going to worry anyway, because that's what love does. And I think that's going to be very easy for people to understand. But yeah, I'm just, that's where I've been at. That's what I've been going through. That's what I've been hinting at on the podcast of, when I was going through, when these rules, these, just the way society is going and the shit we're signing up for, when I put that out, and then everyone was coming down to me and attacking me that day that I'm this awful, anti-vaxxer and killing people's grandmas and all the negative shit that they want to say, and how I'm attacking healthcare workers and I don't care about people and all that. That was tough to go through with all this. And that was just one of those days. And even the episode with Mike talking about John Mayer, I don't know if you guys could tell or not that I was a little checked out, but that was the last night that me and Alyssa were living in the same house. She was moving out the next day to her new apartment, and I hope that doesn't come through to you guys, and I hope all the content that I've been putting out has been up to its normal standard. I hope that this didn't bleed through, and if it did, that's why I just want to address it here with this, and let you guys in on at least why, if it's not going to be up to snuff with my usual stuff that I'm doing, you guys better know why, right? Like, that's kind of my thoughts on the matter. But I'm hoping you guys couldn't even tell, and it's just me in my own head that's beating it up like I usually do, and seeing the other side of it. Yeah, so that's been pretty tough. But like I said, it's something that I feel like I'm still confident that this is something I at least have to try, and it might be a mistake. It might be I might look back on it as, oh, that was a really tough decision or a really stupid move. Like, you're going through all this chaos and you're all stressed out, and you're going on to this new venture, and the one pillar of support that's always there and just unflappable, you're giving up. And I see that. And I thought about that. Like, that's, don't get me wrong. I knew that going in. I knew that this was going to be tough, and I knew what I was bringing on to myself, but I just knew I had to make the decision and make the right call. Or not make the right call, but make a call and try things and be selfish, and then just be selfish for a while. You can always back it out, and you can always change things in the future. Nothing's ever written in stone, but sometimes just being selfish like this is what you need to do. And I've talked about this on the podcast of just mental health coming first, and nothing should be atop that on your totem pole of needs. And that's just what I'm doing right now, is just putting my mental health first in a lot of different ways. And that might sound crazy to you because I just, cried for half an hour about this of what I'm doing. And that doesn't sound like putting your mental health first, but I think in the long run, if I didn't do this, the mental health effects of not trusting my gut and at least giving this a try, I think it would be a lot more detrimental down the road. And I think just taking on all this stuff all at once and just getting through it is something that's going to make me stronger and really allow me to really chase this passion unencumbered like I want to. Because now if Joe Rogan calls tomorrow and says, "Hey, I need a new co-host," right? Like, hey, now I'm here, now I'm free, I can do that, right? And that's what I really wanted, and that's what I'm excited about. And I guess just to bring it back to this week now, I had mentioned earlier that I had, from the time I told my parents that, hey, this is what I'm doing, October 1st, I'm done I'm done completely, like cutting it. I am chasing this dream. I'm putting everything towards it. I am going all in. I didn't have another anxiety attack, and that was great. And just that sense of just having a light at the end of the tunnel. It's still been really hard. And like I said, adding on the breakup on top of that has been tough to work out. But I've still been holding on to the sense of excitement of what's coming. I've finally be able to chase this podcast like I want to. But then rolling into this week, come Monday, knowing that Friday is the day, and that it just became apparent that clean break of just leaving it all behind and jumping into this is not going to be feasible. And there's nothing I can do about that. And I'm very frustrated by it. And I'm starting to get that same anxiety and that same trap feeling of, hey, this is never going to go away. I'm never going to be able to get free. I'm always going to be sucked back into this for the reasons. And that gave me anxiety. And I had a couple of anxiety attacks this week, and it felt really shitty to feel that back because I was just so happy to be on the other side of it. But I think that's also just a combination of, being home alone in this house that, half the decorations are gone, like probably anybody that doesn't live here wouldn't notice the house doesn't look empty, but to me, it sure does. It's noticeable to come home and to see, it's not even anything specific. It's just coming home to just that difference. There's the hollowness of the house. Just there's things gone and you feel it. And to know that just all the uncertainty of this big change of that coming up, that Friday is that day. I'm sure it's a lot of that too, but I'm just very disappointed, or I don't know what the word is. I don't know what I'm feeling with that of just I feel like I'm still going to have to do a lot with work, and there's still a lot of the things that I was trying to run away from, and being very honest with you, it's running away, right? And I want to be honest about that, because I think it's easy to frame things as if it's not running away from them, but I think I really am. And I think it's for a good call, and I stand by it, and I don't feel anything negative about that running. I think I need to, and I think I need to run fast, and I need to run towards this. It's not running away. It is running away, but it's also running towards, and that's what I'm trying to focus on. But I want you guys to be aware of how that all goes. And then, so I'll keep you guys updated. And I guess I can roll right into this. So then there's also what I did last year, Optimize October, where it's just a play on Sober October, which is what, if you guys listened last year, it was something that was started on Joe Rogan's podcast with comedians Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer and Ari Shafir. And every October they would be sober from all drugs and alcohol, and usually they added in some sort of challenge, either it was an athletic challenge or whatever it was. So last year what I did was I was doing soberness plus what it was at that point of I was trying to, I don't know if I ever said this explicitly, I might have, but what I was really going for was I want to try and live my life as if I'm a couple years in the future and I don't have this full-time job and I'm doing the podcast full-time. How am I going to fill my days? Stuff like reading, listening to podcasts, jujitsu, guitar, some video games, right? Like actually seeing some friends, and that's what I wanted to kind of live my life, and breath work and stretching and multiple workouts, only water, taking my vitamins every day, like things like that, of just really living that life that I envision for myself in the future. And I want to do that again this year. But the biggest thing I struggled with last year was of all those things are escapes, right? The bad food, that's an escape. And that's something that you have to understand your relationship with and only use. And to be honest with you guys, this month of going through this breakup, like I've been eating, like I'm right back to old fat Nick habits of like, just ordering all this crazy food and just, eating my feelings. And I know I'm doing it. And I feel like it's very different than what it is before because I'm actually aware of what I'm doing and I'm making it a conscious choice and I'm working out and I'm trying to add things in to counterbalance it, which is different from before of maybe if this would have been 6 or 7 years ago in the middle of a breakup. It's just, there's none of those healthy factors. There's none of the 1,000-foot view of the grand scheme of what you're doing and the trade-offs. It was just, pure escapism, right? And escapism is never great, but it's so much worse when you're not understanding it. As long as you're conscious that you are choosing to escape right now and you're understanding that that's what you're doing, there's nothing wrong with it. I think one of the biggest things I see that was last year was seeing when I did Optimize October, Sober October, was seeing my relationship with weed. And, because not drinking, that was fine. Month of not drinking, I barely ever drink anyways. I love drinking. Drinking's fun, but I need, friends and things to do. I'm not drinking by myself here in GP with my 0 friends, right? So it was easy. But what it really made me realize was how much, because I really enjoy weed and it's been an amazing thing for me, and I could speak for hours on the positive sides of it, and I will sometime on this podcast. You'll hear me wax poetic about it, I'm very sure, but there's also some negative sides of it, and one of the biggest negative sides of it, which is not of weed, it's just of anything, it's just the escapism part, is sometimes you're using it because you enjoy it, and it's a good thing, and it's a little bit, but what I found was I was using weed to escape my unhappiness with my situation. And that, for me, it was weed. For other people, that's booze. Some people, it's pills. Everybody has it. Some people, it's food. For me, it's weed and food. Don't worry. Food is never not an issue with me. That's always one of those things that's in the back. But it really highlighted that realization and how tough that was for me. And to go through the negativity at work and just know that, I am working to get home, to escape into the world, just get high, play some video games, just forget about it, laugh, just enjoy. And to recognize that was good, because then from then on, it's like, oh, this isn't just this is something I need to watch, and I need to be conscious of my relationship with it and constantly check in with myself. Am I using this for the right reasons? What am I escaping from? Is that okay to escape from? You never have to define yourself like that, but am I happy with the decisions I'm making? Am I avoiding actually dealing with the problem? And I think I was. I think I knew I needed to make this decision and was not happy at work, and this feeling of being trapped, I knew I needed to get away from it, but I just didn't know how. So that was my solution of I'm just going to numb myself and just get through it. And having said that, going into this year and knowing where I am mentally, I just worry a little bit about going that whole hog and cutting everything off and taking away all those escapes and all those things right now when I'm going through a breakup, going through this huge transition, is just maybe not the smartest thing in the world. So instead, I kind of want to the part that I liked about last year's was just, if people followed along last year's Optimize October, and I might have even saved all these stories on my Instagram, might be there, who knows, is do the same thing where after each day, from October 1st to the 31st, at the end of each day, I just want to document what I did for that day, the things that I'm proud, right? Like if that's, only drinking water, if that's doing this, doing that, reading, guitar, I still want to do that, but I'm not going to hold myself to having to do anything. And I just want to kind of, for October, what it's going to be is just, I'm going to live a good October, and I'm going to really concentrate and work hard, and I'm going to try and live a really healthy, balanced life that still has a little bit of fun, but I don't know. I feel like you guys are just going to have to watch and see it all come together. I'm kind of what I have an idea for, all that. And I think also that's going to be kind of documenting getting these other ventures off the ground and just kind of today I put in a lot of work on the business consulting thing. I got a new logo. I did this, called this one. I did an hour of guest inviting for the podcast today. All these different things. And I just want to kind of document that way, just to kind of show you guys a little bit of that, but still be doing October and still trying to honor the spirit of what that Sober October was all those years ago, of just, trying to do something in that month to better yourself and to hold yourself to some sort of accountability. And I think for some people that can be just picking a substance or something else that they want to make for that and just stay away from it. that works great. But just for where I am right now, I just don't see that putting all these restrictions and going away from all these things that, in the best of times, I probably shouldn't be running to. But considering the circumstances, I just don't think that's that smart. And I think that this is just me being a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and just finding a balance point of, like maybe it's, like just saying no junk food for the whole month, just eating healthy. Yeah, that might be good and I might enjoy it, but maybe I just do eating healthy Monday to Friday and then have the weekends off. I don't know exactly what's going into this. I'm kind of going to be playing it by ear, but I just, I don't want to go totally whole hog on it just yet. But I'm really excited. Like, I don't want to make this all sound like this is super negative and all this is down. Like, I'm really excited to chase these things and to have that freedom and to be able to just go to Edmonton for a couple of days, and it doesn't matter because I don't need to be back by any time. I can go see my friends. It's not like, okay, well, I'm only up for 2 days. I drove 4 hours to get here. I'm going to have to drive 4 hours back and then go back to this job I hate. I don't want to see you. If you're not my fucking best friend, like, I don't want to spend any time with you. This is minimal time. Like, I need to enjoy this. I'm such an efficiency guy. And when it's under those types of restrictions, I was just holding myself back from doing all these things I want. And I'm excited to, hey, I can spend 5 days in Edmonton. I could spend a week. I could spend a month there. I could, go down to Calgary. I can go to Vancouver. I can go wherever I want, and I can record episodes the whole time and keep working on this, but I'm not tied to anything. And I'm so excited for that. I can't even tell you guys how excited I am for that. And to get back into playing some video games, and hopefully monetize, like trying to do it for a reason to start figuring it out on Twitch. But if I get that Twitch channel up and start playing a bit, I'm so excited. I miss playing video games so much. I miss seeing friends. I miss so many things that I used to have before I moved out to GP. And one of the biggest parts part of that conversation was that I have a lot of guilt about this move that I'm doing and giving up this job. And a bunch of people have said this exact sentence to me of just like, oh man, you're giving up. Like, I would do anything to have that role. Like, you're just giving it up. And that is true. And I don't want you guys to think that I'm not so grateful and so thankful to my family and to extended family and the non-family family of just like the people in Slave Lake that grew, that raised me, of just all the opportunity I've had and all the things that I've learned to get me to that point. I'm so thankful for it and so grateful for it. And I feel like this is, I don't even know where I was going with that now. I've lost my train of thought. Lost it. I'm sure it will come back to me because it was important. Usually I always say, if you can't remember it, it can't be that important, but I know it was. Guilt. Damn it. Oh, I hate when I do that. I don't know if that bugs you guys as much as it bugs me, but I feel like because I'm a podcaster, I'm supposed to be able to do this, even though this happens to me in real life all the time. I feel like when I'm on the mic, this just shouldn't happen to me for some reason, where I just completely lose my train of thought, even though that's like 90% of my day since I was a little kid is just, squirrel, always over. And then I beat myself up for it. But man, it was important. It was a good, I had it for a second. What was it? Got it. Boom. So I felt that guilt of, and I wanted to say of just how much I appreciate the position I'm in and how lucky I am to be there and all the attributes that I got. But the other side of it that I feel, and I feel like people don't really understand too, and this is something that, I had to make clear to my parents, and I don't want to make them feel bad about this, because I wouldn't, going back, I wouldn't change a thing. I would never change a thing. I would do it all over again, the exact way I did it, because I love who I am right now, and I wouldn't change it a second of it. But yes, at 23, I was given the opportunity to step into a role that most 40-year-olds would drool over. Yes, I have an amazing life. Yes, all that. But also, I kind of traded my childhood for it. And that sounds ridiculous and hyperbolic. I realize that. But yeah, most 23-year-olds don't get the job and prestige that I had at that time. But also most 23-year-olds get to travel, see their friends, make some bad decisions, go sleep with a bunch of girls, like all that. I didn't. I gave all that up. I jumped into this and I became an adult, and I put away, and I love my childlike side. That's my favorite part of myself. And I feel like I just had to shove that into a corner and only bring it out 1 week in a month when I travel back to Edmonton. The rest of the time I just gave up to be up here, and I want to live a little bit of my childhood. I want to enjoy that. And I feel like that's, sure, you can be looked at as selfish, but I don't know. I don't see it that way. I just, or I can see it both ways, but at least a piece of it has to be, like, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to get on the other side of this. I worry that you guys, because of such all these really heavy things I had to get out at the start of this, I don't want that to overshadow just how exciting this is and how pumped I am to jump into these next steps and to make all these calls and to start getting sponsors on the podcast, and just how intimidating that is, but how exciting it is to be intimidated again and to not be, as scary as it is. The scariness is almost exciting because I haven't been this type of scared in a long time. I've been scared, like with work, I've been scared, but for the wrong reasons, of just like anxiety over what is going to happen. Are we going to be okay? Like, just like, there's COVID, there's all this, you can't hire people. Like, the wages are going up, cartage is going down, like prices of everything, inflation's going up. We're having to do the same work for cheaper just to win with the competition. Like, that kind of stress, to the stress of like, but I know how to handle all those things that are happening. I know what the opportunities are, what our solutions are, what options we have on the table, and which ones we can take and which ones are going to be better. But none of them are good. It's just all kind of, we're in a real shit position here, right? You're kind of at the whim of the oil field, which I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of people listening that understand that, of that feeling of just being at the whim of the oil field. The price of oil can make you or break you. That is just such a stressful thing, right? But it's scary, but it's not scary in a way that you can overcome it. You just have to kind of constantly be in that state of fear and just ride it and just get good at surfing that fear and not letting it affect you. And I just don't want to live that way. I'm excited to get over this, like, all the things that are scaring me right now are 100% within my control. And that is terrifying in a whole different way, but also the type of terrifying that I think doesn't make me feel sick to my stomach and just ask myself, why am I doing this? I know exactly why I'm doing this, and I'm going to have a reason. And I know this has come up a million times on the podcast of knowing your why, and how many different people have highlighted the importance of that. But I know my why, and that is the thing that's got me so pumped to just dive into this and to show you guys and to prove the people that don't think I can do it, prove them wrong. And to people that have stood behind me the whole way since I very first started this, Travis Malbuff, Maddie Stab, like these guys that were always sending me DMs, always sending me Snapchats of them listening to it in their trucks, like just saying, hey, you're getting better. You're getting better. Like, I'm so excited to prove those people right. And I'm so excited to those people. Not many people have said, we don't think you can do this, but with their actions, they have proven it. And I'm so excited to prove them wrong. And I'm full of excitement, and I want you guys to know that, and to be excited for me. And I want you guys to, maybe if you're in a position where you have something like this and you want to live vicariously a little bit, hop on. That's why I want to be very open about this process, so that if there's people that want to do this themselves, or whatever this is to them, whatever their podcast is, I want to be able to be open enough that they can really viscerally feel what this process is like, and to know the ups and the downs of it. And I want to bring you guys along for the whole way. So yeah, just a short little episode here, just to, get a few things off my chest, have a little bit of catharsis. I think this is probably going to be episode 98. So then, I haven't recorded a 99th. I've just got to figure something out for in the next, what is it, Wednesday? So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. In the next 4 days, I got to find a podcast to do Monday. I've got a couple things in the works. I'm hopefully should have something lined up. I usually don't like not having at least a couple episodes in the can, but like I said, it's been a crazy month. And then it's episode 100, and that's another just awkward timing, I suppose, just with all this work stuff and relationship stuff and just what I'm going through. And a lot of that has put a lot of stress on my relationships. And to have this episode 100 with my dad that we've been excited about since starting the podcast, since I said that, like he's always been itching to get on. He's been such a huge supporter in his own way. He's another one of those guys that really supports me in what I'm doing. I think he struggles sometimes because he wants to support so much, and it's so foreign to him that a lot of the time the ways he wants to help, I don't receive it as well, and I maybe don't listen as much, and I think that really frustrates him. But it's just put us in this weird dynamic. But more so than that is just, to know that he's been so excited to have this, to have this episode 100 come up and to hop on and record with me. And then for episode 100 to come at such a pivotal time of when everything's changing and, the poor guy, he's going through this. I'm walking out on him. It's his company that is taking I guess that's my ego talking to say it's a huge hit. It probably won't impact them at all. They'll be fine without me. But, no, fuck, I'm the best person there. I'm the fucking rock of that company. I believe it myself. I'm sure this is my ego talking, but I think that is a huge hit that they're taking by not having me. And I think I really carry a ton of the water for that company. And I think he knows it too. And I think he'd probably admit to it. And that's tough for him. And I'm putting him in a really shitty spot. And I feel really bad about it. But I can't go on living like I was living. Fuck that. I don't want to be so depressed. I just lay face down on the carpet and just fucking feel numb from everything. I don't enjoy anything. Ugh. And I feel bad even talking about that because obviously, he feels guilty about that he put me in this position, even though that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't change anything for for the world. I love how this all happened. I wouldn't have started this I probably wouldn't have started this podcast if I wouldn't have come here and moved to GP, all that stuff, the confidence that I have to take this podcast to the next level. If I hadn't run a company of this size for 4 years, I would never feel the confidence I feel to jump into this, right? But it's just tough to have this episode pop up right when we're, not at odds. I mean, me and my dad have a great relationship. It's a complicated relationship, but it's always been good. We've been best friends since I was could talk, right? And but every relationship, especially a father-son relationship, goes through different periods of different things. And this is probably one of the toughest periods because it's just a lot going on. It's nobody's fault. Nobody has to feel bad, but it's hard not to internalize a lot of these things and to take it on yourself, whether that's me feeling guilt or it's him feeling guilt from that side. It just puts it in a tough spot. But I'm also so excited to get on the podcast and have a conversation with that and kind of lay all these things out. I think also deciding that I wanted him to be episode 100 really put a preventative measure of using the podcast to have conversations like this with him beforehand. And I'm really excited because once he comes on once, now that the floodgates are open, he can come on every week. We could do a weekly episode if you guys like listen to the big idiot. I don't know. You guys probably will. I like listening to him. He's pretty interesting guy, but I'm excited that once we get the first one off the table, I'm hoping it goes just as spectacular as I think it will. And we end up doing 4 hours and we hug and we cry and we, laugh and all this stuff. I'm sure we will. But then after that, we can, if we have a tough time like this where we're at loggerheads or, maybe we have a miscommunication, we're not feeling, now it's another opportunity to have something where we can reconnect and do something. And I think more than anything, I'm excited for you guys to see who he is and to get to see the other side of this. I feel like I talk about him a lot, and you guys, for the most part, probably 90% of the people listening know my dad and know me and that, but just to document people for, 10 years down the road when I'm this huge podcasting success and people go back to the first, couple hundred episodes and they look back, oh, episode 100 with his dad, like who's that guy, right? To go back and to get to see a piece of who he is and to document who he is. I think that's just personally to me is a great feeling of, if something happened tomorrow, at least we'd have some piece of I hope I can capture a piece of who he is because he's just a special person and the world deserves to a glimpse into his mind. And let me tell you, it's a place. I think not many people get to. It's funny working with him because he's such a unique individual and he's so different and in a lot of great ways too. But sometimes there's some frustrating ways, but it's so funny to have known him my whole life and to, just all the ways that are just that's just Ingo, right? Guy doesn't know his left and rights. He's 50 some years old, almost 60, does not know his left and rights at all. But I'm so aware of that. Every time he says, yeah, go left there, I just know to go right. If he says go right, you just know to go left. I'd say maybe 1 time out of 10 he gets it right, but for the most part, just do the opposite of what he says. But that's such an idiosyncrasy that I'm used to. It doesn't even faze me, but with other people. And there's so many little things like that at work of just people like, did he just, I'm like, yeah, no, don't worry about it. That's just him. Like, yeah, he only said two words and he expected you to get this whole sentence of, something else. And he just expects you to read minds. It's like, And then the other funny thing is to see it in myself now. All those things that I see in him that I think are so funny, I do so much of the same shit and I catch myself doing it these days. It's like, fuck, come on, man. You know better than this. You've learned this lesson. You've been on the other side of this. Don't do that to these people. But I'm just excited. I can't wait to share with you guys that special character, and I'm excited for that to be the next level in our relationship and hopefully some places that we can go. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Optimize October and to have a little bit of layer of accountability. I'm excited to crush through some books, do a lot of jujitsu, do some real good stretching, play a lot of guitar, record a fuck ton of episodes, get this consulting business off the ground, start doing some business consulting, make a little bit of cash, hopefully find somebody that's willing to do one of those business consulting packages on a podcast like this so I can start to show it around and show people, what that 4 years of university and then 4 years running the company did and the type of, and not to mention the 27 years of watching Ingo and Barry run a business and just the business acumen that I've built up and that I'm very proud of and I do believe in. I'm excited to share that with everybody else and to prove to people that I do have a very high level of business acumen that I can spread and that I can share with people. So I'm excited to get that on the go. I'm so excited to get streaming and so nervous because I did not realize how complex that is and how you almost need a goddamn degree in it just to understand how it all works. And if anybody listens to this and has any sort of expertise in streaming or wants to help a brother out, please let me know, because that is one of the things, like taking the podcast to the next level, pretty confident I've got the steps in front of me. I can do that. The business consulting, very confident in that. That's maybe the one I'm most confident in. And people give me the craziest looks about, like, are you sure about that? I'm like, oh, you just wait. This is special. And then it's streaming where I'm just like, I'm so excited for it and I really want to do it, but I'm just so worried about jumping into the workload of what it is and all the learning and stuff. And I always figure shit like that out. And once I get into it, I'm going to get obsessed with it. I'm going to figure it out and I'll be great at it in a couple months. But that initial leap of faith is something that I'm just dreading a little bit right now, if I'm honest with you guys. But oh well, that is what it is. That's at the end of the day, if that's the biggest thing you're concerned about, you're living a pretty good life. And I've been thinking about that a lot with a lot of these things and everything going on today in the world. No matter how tough this month has been, it can be a million times worse. I'm so lucky. I'm so thankful for the amazing family I have. Oh, and just shout out to the families, both mine and Alyssa's, for being amazingly supportive through this and to understand and to meet with love how we wanted to do this breakup, even though it was very non-traditional and probably had some people scratching their heads, but just to let us crazy kids do what we want to do and what we needed to do, and just to be there with love and support and compassion for both sides, from both sides of the family, has just been beautiful. And I love to see that. And I'm very thankful. And I think that just goes to show how lucky I am, and not wanting to speak for Alyssa, but I know she sees the same thing of just how special her family is. And we're both very grateful for that. So yeah. Other than that, if you're going through a breakup, I feel like it's going around right now. I think it's COVID kind of putting the added stress onto a lot of people, but you're going to get through it. I know it's tough. And it feels like maybe you'll never have that feeling of normalcy again and that feeling of security, but you will. And talk to people. I'm the number one guy. I know it sounds crazy because I have a podcast, but I don't like to talk to people unless it's on the podcast. It seems I'm not really good at opening up just in general with people. And I've been forcing myself to, and it's helped every time. And I don't really want to talk to it, but I end up doing it. It feels better after. So please talk to somebody, make your feelings heard. You're not alone with it. Everybody feels these things. I know it's tough right now, but there's a lot of love in the world, and you just got to be that one small part of it and lead by example, and everything else will fall into place. So other than that, thank you guys for listening. Can't wait to bring you guys some really extra special shit coming up. Episode 100, business consulting, streaming. Keep your eye out, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.